and welcome to the Noonas Podcast, a brand new podcast all about K-pop and Korean culture and things involving K-pop in all-encompassing terms. My name is Jenny, and with me is my good friend Ginny. Jenny and Ginny. This is going to be fun dealing with this with people confusing us.
Yeah, just to think. Remember my name like Genie from Aladdin, or Ginny Weasley from the Harry Potter series.
Ooh, that's a good one to remember. Ginny, I like Ginny Weasley too from the Harry Potter series. She was cool.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, this is not a Harry Potter podcast. This is a K-pop podcast instead. But we're decided the two of us to start a K-pop podcast. Why? Well, we both like the genre very much. We've actually we've been friends for a while, Ginny and me. And we've both kind of stumbled upon K-pop separately, but then we've gotten to be closer friends because of K-pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing how you fall into the genre. I mean, yeah, K-pop's kind of become like the hot thing now, especially with BTS obviously dominating the charts as of late. And we're going to get to that today. That's one of the topics we're going to talk about, as well as talking about Blackpink's new album called The Album. But just called The Album because that's super creative. But before we get into those topics today, I guess we'll just kind of introduce ourselves and what we've kind of, how we've fallen down this rabbit hole called K-pop. I guess, do you want to go first, Ginny, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah. Yes, of course, I can go first. So, hey guys, how you guys doing? My name is Ginny Liano. So I'm just currently a designer right now. So I do like graphic designing, illustrations, and I also do operating on the side back in my home in Edmonton, Canada. And how I stumbled into K-pop? Well, it first started with my sister because I hear her listening to a lot of K-pop songs, and she's been enjoying it because some of her friends listen to it. At first, I was kind of like disregarding it and kind of making fun of her for that genre, until I started listening to some songs like NCT, saw some ATEEZ performance videos, and then looked at some BTS crack videos, so to say, and then I started becoming more interested. Whoa, what's this who are these guys about? And then I know it's during my trip in Texas last year in 2019, I started listening to more BTS songs, and yeah, that's how I got hooked, and the rest is just goes down in history, man.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how all of a sudden you get into the whole rabbit hole of, oh, I want to know their names and I kind of want to know more. And then before you know it, you're knee deep in the rabbit hole and you're going headfirst into a whole new world.
I thought it'd be so difficult for me to learn the positions, know each name and how to know their faces. But it's pretty amazing that when you become more fans of a group, then you become more familiar who they are, and you can distinguish each K-pop member. Even after BTS, I started listening to more songs outside, so more girl groups, SM artists, which I'm really into right now.
Yeah, you're really into SM artists.
Mm-hmm. I'm still pretty new to the game, so I might not know a lot. I need to listen to more some of the older classics, the first and second gen, so I can be more knowledgeable into this genre.
No, I'm the same way too. I actually, weirdly, it's been kind of a slow process for me that just kind of catapulted at the beginning of last year. So I actually started listening to K-pop around 2018. I was starting to get into Korean variety shows. Don't ask how, but I somehow stumbled upon the show Running Man, which is a very, very popular Korean variety show that I actually really, really like. And they've always had idols and groups and celebrities basically come on the show, and they come on the show weekly and usually compete with the members every week. And through that, I kind of started listening to K-pop because they also play music. A lot of times as soundtracks. And you know this, I know you watch variety show because you watch The Return of Superman.
Yeah, okay,
And
but listening to the music, I watched like some clips of Return of Superman with my sister because I really
mhm.
like the kids are like super cute and they're like really funny. So yeah,
And also apparently demons, as we've talked about lately.
yeah, yeah.
But no, so with that, I've kind of got my feet wet, and then I started kind of flirting with it on Spotify a little bit. And like obviously you heard about BTS, they were starting to get more popular. I think the first BTS performance I watched was their Billboard Music Award performance in 2018 when Fake Love dropped. And that was from Love
Oh,
Yourself tier, which if you are an army like me and Jenny are, obviously that song's very iconic for the flashing of Jungkook's abs. And um, there's something about a lot of screaming girls when Jungkook flashes his abs. But yeah, I mean, I kind of was into it, but it was like the whole screaming fans, everything kind of was turning me off. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. But, you know, still kind of was flirting here and there. I was listening to everything that was coming out that was really, popular summer of 18. Starting to look into like EXO, starting to look into NCT, looking into Blackpink,
yeah.
Twice, like all the main groups that if you start kind of scratching the surface of K-pop, like those are like the main like big groups right now. And yeah, it just kind of was a slow process and just a little bit here and there. And BTS would just kind of flirt on my side vision, like, hey, we're here when like they're like super popular. Like I remember Idol coming out and I was like, Idol's kind of a cool bop. Didn't like the Nicki Minaj version of it, but I think it's pretty well known that
Yeah,
most
no,
armies,
not me neither.
yeah, most armies don't like the Nicki Minaj version of of Idol. Yeah, and it's just really I fell down the rabbit hole like March of 2019, right before Persona came out for BTS. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole, because I fell down the rabbit hole because of their alternate universe they've set up in all their music videos. Okay, I take that back. Not all their music
Oh,
videos, but a good
oh,
chunk of them. So obviously starting with Most Beautiful Moment in Life era. If you're a fan of BTS, you know they have this alternate universe that they've been working on now for 5 years, that's kind of built in with their music videos. They actually have a mobile game that just came out, which I've downloaded but not played yet. I'm too afraid to play it. But they've built it like this whole rich history that's got this alternate timeline that deals with like one member looping back in time and trying to save the other six from really horrible fates, because like two ended up in the hospital, one's dead because he committed suicide, one murdered his father. It's pretty dark and like gruesome stuff that they deal with. But yeah, that's kind of how I fell in. And then crack
yeah.
videos, and then I watched the video for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and the rest is history.
No, just for me, since I know like I'm a fan of BTS, but I'm still not caught up in what like the narrative or like the ongoing narrative that they're doing here. Like it's kind of similar with EXO. Like I would think I'm more familiarized with like the EXO narrative, but with BTS, yeah, it's kind of like so. It's kind of funny, like for me, like when people how they like kind of analyze like the narrative for each music video and how it connects to the other one, and like which stories are like the concept like which videos like line up together and like how would this like turn out at the end. So yeah, it's kind of like a fun thing to theorize or like fun seeing people theorize crazily about that.
Yeah, we might have to do an episode later, because there's that. Cause BTS isn't the only group that does alternate universes. I know obviously you talked EXO has one. ATEEZ has a pretty robust one that they've been pumping out. They especially with their last comeback they had back in July, they really were pushing the storyline on that, and that would be fun to like kind of dig deep into. Also, Ultimate Everybody Together also has a really good storyline. Also, very dark storyline too. But I don't know what it is with Big Hit. They like to have the very dark storylines for some reason.
No, they're more grounded into like reality because like in a lot of like groups they talk ideally talk about like fantastical romance and like really more into the fantasy elements, while BTS and like people from Big Hit like they're they talk more about like the realistic sides of romance and like how like kids like how they deal like struggle with their mental health and like how they deal with people of authority. So yeah, that's why I think they're really like beloved with fans, because like they really relate to each other and like they connect with their fans and what the struggles are they're dealing with, and they bond for each other over that.
Pretty much. And also, basically, like, they're kind of almost creating their own fan fiction. If you're into that kind of thing, they kind of create their own fan fiction for the fans. But even then, you still have to kind of decipher some of it. But before we get into a whole discussion, this should be a discussion we have on an episode down the road, I think. We should get started with what we're going to talk about today. And I think the first item on the agenda today is talking about Blackpink's new album, their first full album, which is surprising because they've been a group now that's been going a little bit over 4 years, because they debuted back in 2016 and only now are dropping their first full album called The Album. Very creative name.
Yeah, like the most unique name I've ever heard.
Exactly. Not like I've had, we've had mouthfuls with some very interesting album titles. Like going back to the 80s, like this last one was Zero Fever. What was it? Zero Fever Part 1. It was very much a mouthful. Just calling it Fever Era. Making it easier for me. But yeah, we basically got Blackpink's first full album, which has been excitedly waited on in the K-pop industry, because Blackpink is probably arguably the best known girl group outside of Korea in terms of like their influence on Western audiences. Obviously, me and Jenny are very much a Western audience. We're both, obviously Jenny lives in Canada. I live in the United States. So obviously we're very much surrounded by the Western culture. And Blackpink has definitely catered more to our tastes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, personally, I'm not a huge fan of, I'm not a Blink myself, but I jam into some of their music sometimes. I think I'm more into like the Korean demographic, like Twice, or maybe like even Mamamoo, for an example. And that's how my taste goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When Doo 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 came out in 2018, and that was like the hot jam of 2018 in Korea, and making some way. I think it made some waves in America, at least on the charts. Like, as far as K-pop songs usually get on the Billboard charts, which is lower, but it's still on the chart. Yeah, I mean that was a fun jam, and that's kind of how I started going to Blackpink too, and kind of looking at their very limited discography, should I say? Because when Doo 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 came out, I think they only had about 8 songs. I think they only had 2 EPs, which were both 4 songs apiece. So they had a very limited catalog, which is surprising considering how many groups tend to churn out music on the regular. I mean, most K-pop groups, I think, have at least 2-3 comebacks a year, if I'm not mistaken, depending on their schedules and depending on the release schedules and stuff. But yeah, just to have a very limited catalog and yet be probably the most famous girl group outside of Korea was surprising. And I'm not going to lie, I did like Doo 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 Doo. That was a really fun summer bop in 2018. But yeah, I'm not a Blink either. Blink is the term for the fandom of Blackpink. If you are a stan of Blackpink, you are known as a Blink. Much like if you're a stan of BTS, you're an ARMY. It's kind of the correlation of what we have in K-pop, where every group has a named fandom, and you'll kind of get to know all the names and all the fandoms hopefully throughout the show here. Yeah, I guess let's get into a review of the album itself. I mean, we have 8 songs, which for an album is a little underwhelming. I mean, 8's like the bare minimum to call yourself an album.
A studio album, no less.
Right, exactly. I mean, and the thing is, too, we had 2 pre-release singles, How You Like That and Ice Cream, which was featuring Selena Gomez, and those were released before the album came out this summer. They are both, I think How You Like That came out in the end of June, and Ice Cream came out at the end of August. So they came out, well before the album dropped, and those are also included on the album. So all we got were 6 new songs, which is basically like another mini album, if you think about it. Which,
yeah,
as you can tell, I think we're both a little underwhelmed with the album.
Yeah, underwhelmed. So I took some, since it's kind of easy for me to like listen to all the songs. It took me a bit of a while to listen to everything. I listened to how many other than How You Like That, Ice Cream, Lovesick Girls. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4, I guess, because I needed to listen to the last 2 songs like the day before. So yeah, so that is to say that like it took me a while for them to grow, for these songs to grow on me, and like some of the songs that I would listen to it, like have fun and jam into, and the other songs I'd probably just like skip.
Yeah, I like this is an album, like I said, it's super, super underwhelming for a group that's been out for 4 years, and for as big of a clout that they have, it's very kind of lacking in terms of like their musicality. In terms, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of songs are one note. I think after Do 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 came out, like Do 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 Do, Kill This Love, and How You Like That are basically all the same song. It's the same kind of like beat, chord progression, like the way the lyrics are kind of flow, how they're distributed between the members. They're interchangeable, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like Kill This Love.
Yeah, I remember that about you. But for me, like I know a lot of K-pop groups have like a lot of formulaic sounds into it and how like they distribute lines to each member. Like for example, Super M, they have like similar composition, how they distribute like lines for each member. Like I know, like whenever we go close to the bridge of the final chorus, I know we get to like Taemin and Bacon's power vocals together, and I know that like it's gonna be coming pretty soon. And for with Blackpink, I like a lot of their songs are just based about like heartbreak or like dealing with breakups and like kind of like a revenge fantasy narrative with or themes around like that's like their main concept. And I would like prefer if they'd like have other concepts other than like having like dealing with um like tragic love stories or how to get with guys. So I wish that they have like more variety into like their themes.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, their themes very much like it very much is always like a revenge kind of thing. Like basically they kind of portray like this strong woman, like I don't need no man kind of mentality, I think. But it's almost the same thing over and over and over, and it's beat over your head. At least other groups I feel like go outside that. I mean, we'll go back to Super M because Super M just dropped their album 2 weeks ago, with Super One, their first album. And that, I think in itself is a pretty solid album because besides obviously the catching singles off the album like 100 and Tiger Inside and One, there's some B-sides on there that are like a little bit more different, that kind of break up the monotony of doing the same thing over and over. And I didn't really find that on Blackpink's album because like there's a lot of songs that have the same kind of theme that are just super interchangeable, and they're just kind of like, oh, it's the same thing over and over and over. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sorely disappointed with just how it sounded. Also, they had a collab with Cardi B, which is woefully forgettable. I feel like Cardi was not needed on this album whatsoever. I know, again, that whole Western influence that they have in their record company is definitely pushing, which I have many, 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 many known issues with YG Entertainment, namely just how they handle their idols and stuff. And there's just a lot of really bad history with them, and they're really becoming like the last of the big three.
Yeah, many stuff like happening with YG, and a lot of like questionable things that they've done and how like they handle like a member's like scandal or like lack thereof. like I know like they're like the hip hop demographic of the K-pop industry. Like, well, JYP is like more of the popular side, SM's more like the R&B and soul, like, and YG's more of the hip hop. And yeah, there's like a bunch of like unwanted reputation that they've been getting, and I just like hope that you know they would like change from that routine and like treat their artists like better, or at least like prioritize them with equal amount of worth and value. Yeah, and it's like it's kind of like you know it's kind of going into like how they were treating with the Blackpink first album. Like they should have like given them much more attention or more like time to work on more songs. So yeah, a lot of like miss potential for that.
There's a lot of missed potential because they have some very strong vocalists. I mean, Rose and Jisoo are very, very strong vocalists, and yeah, they are woefully underrepresented. Obviously, Jennie and Lisa are very strong rappers. But I know, like, I feel like YG has a very unhealthy obsession with promoting Jennie. I know that kind of came out when Jennie promoted Solo. Back in 2019 when she dropped Solo, which was her first like solo single debut. But none of the other members have debuted as solo artists yet, which is surprising. Or like they haven't had like units yet.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like because Lisa's like the most like recognizable face in Blackpink. Like people know and love Lisa like the most, and I'm surprised that they YG didn't have the opportunity to give her like some solo works. Like, she's been doing a lot of performance videos for herself and like doing some training with like like the rookies from China. But yeah, YG kind of like didn't use that much of her as well. So that's kind of surprising too.
Yeah, it's very disappointing that they haven't, as much as they want to promote them, and they are kind of, I think, the biggest group YG has under their label right now. I mean, you can't really say anything because their other big group, iKON, has kind of been disbanded after there's an issue with their leader possibly smoking, I think it was LSD. That was a whole thing. So they kind of been a little on the wayside as of right now. So Blackpink is really like their bread and butter. And until now, we had Treasure just debut with them, and they just debuted. But so that's still kind of up in the air in terms of where they'll land in terms of fourth generation groups. But
yeah,
all we can do is see what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, in all honesty, this was underwhelming. This kind of further cements my feelings on Blackpink and how they're just being very misused in the K-pop industry. They honestly, there are way better girl groups out there. They're even way better fourth generation girl groups, which is now the current generation of K-pop. If you're debuting now, K-pop is broken up into generations. Third generation groups are still out there, like obviously BTS, EXO. I think NCT is technically considered third generation because they debuted back in 2015.
Yeah, because the big came out 16.
Yeah, they're like the tail end of third generation. Because I think like the first big fourth generation group was Stray Kids.
Yeah, exactly. Think of like the third generation, like representing each decade. So first generation, it would be like from the 90s. Am I correct?
Kind of, yeah, late. No, I feel like first generation's a pretty long time because it's like late 90s into early 2000s. And then like second generation's is like SHINee and I'm trying to think of other groups now that are second generation. Girls' generation. Yeah, SNSD, and a lot of people who I think first got into K-pop, like the first wave of K-pop that kind of came over in the mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s, I should say, is considered second generation, are the second generation groups. And then now we're kind of getting to third generation groups heading to the military. So pretty soon the fourth generation groups will be taking over, although I kind of think they are starting to take over a little bit, but I follow a lot of fourth gen groups, so
yeah, like I have a lot of like faith with the fourth generation. So like with ITZY, I guess did you count Stray Kids as part of fourth or?
Stray Kids debuted in 2018. They're like one of the first groups of the fourth generation because like I include fourth generation like Stray Kids, ATEEZ, Tomorrow by Together. the boys, the groups that are coming up now that have basically like starting to just get out of, some groups are just getting out of rookie status and now kind of establishing themselves on the scene. So, but otherwise, like I said, go stand better girl groups if you want to stand girl groups. I know, like Ginny said, Mamamoo and Twice are great groups to follow, as well as Red Velvet. Red Velvet's very, very good. I still am mad that they kind of got gypped out of Psycho because two of the members got injured during awards season last year. And they basically killed all their promotion for Psycho. And that was a good track. Also stand ITZY and Everglow. They are two fourth-gen groups who are making huge waves, I think, on the scene.
Yeah, like Everglow, like they keep on like delivering hits after hits, and like as my sister said, they keep on getting better. Like for each comeback, like it keeps on getting better in quality. Like I really love like their new song La Di Da, and I think that would be my favorite one from them so far. It's pretty incredible.
La Di Da really kind of came out of nowhere and slapped with its very retro. It's been the summer of retro. That, you know, we've had a lot of retro beats and stuff, and they really embraced that retro beats, but it's still very modern, and it's the choreography itself is amazing. I say go check out a performance video of La Di Da. That choreography is amazing.
Photo with Blackpink. They deserve better. I think they should, you know, deserve more shine. Like get them to like expand on their discography more, and then, you know, be more diverse in their craft. That's all I could say for them. I mean, I enjoy like some of the songs that I have, like of course How You Like That, Pretty Savage. Yes, like I first listened like that sounds good, and like the recent one I've heard was Crazy Over You. Like the first thing I've heard, like oh shoot, that's probably gonna be my favorite track from the album. But other than that, it's just like a few songs that I just like from them. But hopefully I should have liked more of their songs in the album. So yeah, hopefully in the future, you know, they have more time to shine.
I hope so too. I hope we also don't have to wait a year between releases, because that's really rare. Like I said, that's super rare for K-pop to have us wait for a full year for a new release from a group. So. But I guess we're going to go from the biggest girl group in the K-pop world to the biggest boy group in the K-pop world, which is, of course, as everybody knows, BTS, also known as Bangtan Sonyeondan, if you are in the know in the Korean pronunciation of their name. But it's been kind of a historic run as of late since their latest single, Dynamite, dropped. They've been flirting at number one on the Billboard Hot 100, which is unheard of for a K-pop group. And they're the first group to reach to debut at number one on the Billboard Hot 100 when Dynamite came out back in July. And then from there, they've basically been flirting between first and second place. I mean, they dropped to second place again this week. On the Billboard Hot 100, but that's still really impressive to be sitting between one or two for 6 weeks.
Yeah, like you know how like you know people are like making fun of like the people who like K-pop and they think it's gonna be some gimmick. Well, I'm so glad that BTS like proved them wrong, and now they're gonna be listening to Dynamite every like single day.
I mean, I think, and the thing is, it's kind of funny because we kind of played the game, the American game in terms of getting the song. I mean, yes, it's a full English track, and I mean, and it's something they kind of fun they wanted to do, just to kind of make things better during the pandemic. Because I'm sure, as for you, for me, the pandemic's definitely hit pretty hard in terms of like what you can do and who you can see and stuff. And so just having like a fun summer jam like Dynamite that's just super catchy and like an earworm was just kind of like what the doctor needed.
And I just hope like that song would get like people to be more interested in what BTS does, and that's really smart of them and what they did in Jimmy Fallon. Like they performed some of their older hits, so people would like be able to at least like be interested. Like, oh, I like this song. Oh, I like this other song too. And they just research more about like what BTS does and like what their other songs sound like. And so that's my hope that that's what BTS would be able to succeed in.
Yeah, I'm hoping that them being on the Billboard Hot 100 is also kind of like, oh, maybe they're kind of legit. Maybe I should go look into their backlog, because honestly, looking into their backlog is what got me hooked into being a group, and because their backlog is so diverse, they have everything from like they have jazzy tracks to like straight hip hop tracks to soulful ballads. I mean, anything you want, they pretty much do. They have, EDM tracks with mic drop. And yeah, I mean, they basically, because of their, immense power and stuff, they took over the Tonight Show last week with Jimmy Fallon. And they basically performed a different performance every night. And every performance was amazing. I just love the first night of the takeover. They literally performed Idol in front of one of the biggest, like, historical palaces in Korea. And in full modern hanbok, in full modern traditional clothing, and it's just like, yeah, you know what, we're Korean, so we're totally gonna represent our culture, which was the biggest, like, okay, this is the biggest, like, to the locals, like, yeah, you may have heard us speak English on this track.
Yeah, even Jimin from from the previous performance when performing Idol, like they have like this like long intro, like just to hype up the song before the first beat of Idol hits, and like Jimin won the award for like cultural representation for like doing that fan dance. I think you know that clip. Jenny.
I know what performance you're talking about. I think you're talking. Oh, it's one of the awards performances from 2018. I think it's Mama. 2018. It's Mama or Melon. It's one of the two, and I can't keep them straight. But I know which one you're talking about because it's got Jimin, J-Hope, and Jungkook. J-Hope's drum dance, and then Jungkook with the long sleeves, and they're all doing like traditional style. It's a beautiful performance. Go look it up on YouTube if you have the time. It's beautifully done, and then it goes into this great, almost like festival rendition of Idol, which I really like that version a lot.
Yeah, I think what I read up on about Idol, like they mix in both Korean, some other Asian elements, and as well as African musical elements into their music video and like in the song too.
Yeah, the video is unabashedly Korean. Like there's so many Korean like references and like Korean mythology throughout the video. Like there's plenty of YouTube videos to go, or like articles to look up that talk about all the little different things they have in there, like the rabbit and the moon and the tiger and what those all mean in terms of Korean culture. And it's really cool. Like they're unabashed, like, hey, we're Korean. We're going to support this is our country. This is our culture. Yeah, we may be internationally known, but this is who we are, and, love it for what we are. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah, just good on them. Korean pride, man.
Yeah, gotta love the Korean pride they have. And with that, like I said, I mean, they dropped to number 2 this week, but they were number 1 for 3 weeks, 2 weeks straight, and then they dropped back to number 2, and then they went back up to number 1 this last week. And yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's hard for a song to stay number 1 nowadays because people play the game with the remixes and, bundling and stuff like that. And Billboard's been trying to cut out on that, but there's still a lot of work to do because, I mean, I know people were criticizing BTS because they dropped, I think, about 9 or 10 or 11 remixes of Dynamite, which people were like, okay, you really are dropping this many remixes of Dynamite. It's like, have you not looked at other artists who've had number 1 songs and how many remixes they've dropped of songs? They're just playing the game.
Yeah. I know it's uncommon for like bands or groups to do like remixes, but they should have done it like outside of the radio. Like they should have given other artists more chance.
Well, it's more like the remixes were on Spotify. I think they didn't really have them on radio play. They were all on Spotify. Oh. They had multiple remixes they dropped. I mean, they also had the radio version of Dynamite, which I don't listen to a lot of radio, but I know people who have heard it on local radio, which makes me immensely happy.
Yeah, I've heard it like a couple of times when I like go in the car.
Yeah, and that's also currently being used for a Samsung ad that every time, I know the first time I was actually on the phone with my boyfriend. He knows my boyfriend. Hi, Cedric, I love you. He's let's just say he puts up with our K-pop obsession. And I was literally on the phone with him watching something, and all of a sudden a commercial came on. The commercial came on, it had Dynamite in the background, and I'm like, shut up. And I kind of screamed in his ear, which said, I'm sorry. But I was really surprised that they were using the song in a Samsung commercial. I know they have their contract with Samsung right now. And they're actually kind of killing with their ad campaign in Korea. Yeah, I just literally, I saw that, I screamed and then I laughed because I was so happy. And so I've been hearing that on the TV. So I'm hoping that catches some locals too. And hopefully turn them into fans. I mean, who knows? You just got to give them a chance. That's seriously the biggest thing. I say, if you want to give K-pop a chance, you know.
Give K-pop a chance. BTS is a big gateway to it.
BTS is a big gateway, but if BTS isn't your cup of tea, there are plenty of other groups out there that probably could fit your fancy. And hopefully we can talk about many more of them in future episodes of this podcast.
Let's hope so. If they drop more news and other music, music or what artists are doing right now. Hopefully we can get some things to talk about.
Well, we do have this month's pretty heavy in terms of comebacks. Mostly, I think, because BTS is dropping their latest album come November 20th, which, hey, if you want to pre-order, you should pre-order it now. I did, because I'm that kind of army. But there are a lot of groups coming back with new music now.
With me, I'm kind of on the cheap route, so I'm
No, I get it. It's an expensive hobby, collecting K-pop albums, and I will have to get into that on another episode because there's a lot of goodies that come with K-pop albums that make them worth collecting. But it does get expensive.
That's true. I'm probably mostly in the cheaper route. I only just listen to the songs and from YouTube and all that. I don't really pay much attention or not really concerned on getting the merchandise and all that. I don't want to spend my money on some other stuff. Maybe it's for one group that I would probably buy from, hopefully in the future. But right now, I just don't feel like buying anything right now.
I think I know which collab you're talking about too, which is a pretty sweet collab. But yeah, the merch is expensive. Again, I know. Yeah, we have a lot of groups coming back with new music in October. And we're from there into November too. There's some groups who have now announced comebacks in November, which basically means people are coming back now before the award season hits in December. So with that, there should be a lot of new music for us to review, hopefully.
Hopefully, hopefully they bring out some good songs and for us to enjoy. That's what I want from from a K-pop group right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next big one, I think Pentagon drops their new music on Monday, the 12th, as well as the first from NCT with NCT 2020.
Yes.
Comeback.
With Resonance Part 1.
Yes, which that's going to be crazy with all 23 members of NCT.
Yeah, just to fill them in one room. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, also I'm just looking forward. Hopefully we get another really cool dance video like we did with Black on Black in 2018.
Yeah. That's what I was wishing for. Maybe we do another cool stunt, where they stack on each other, from Black on Black. So hopefully they do another thing with that.
Well, that's all speculation, but that's hopefully all coming down the pipeline. In not September, it's October now. But yeah, we got a lot of comebacks. I think next week we might have to talk about the first part of NCT's comeback. Maybe talk a little bit of Pentagon. If you're interested, I know I do listen a little bit to Pentagon. I'm not a super huge follower into them, but I know people who are actually really excited for this new stuff coming out by them. So
yeah, I'm excited too. I think I like their recent song "Dr. Baby."
Oh yes, that was a really good comeback. Dr. Baby was a very good comeback. But yeah, that's gonna be it, I think, for the first episode of the Noonas podcast. Oh, I guess I should probably explain what Noonas means. Should have done it at the beginning of the show. So probably listening to this whole show, like, why are they calling it Noonas? So Noona actually is a Korean term for older sister. And kind of, I think it's coined towards the older fans of K-pop, which, yeah, I'll admit, people might look at me like, wait, you're into K-pop and you're in your 30s. But hey, I mean, it's something that I enjoy and that I like, and I'm proud to be called a Noona.
Yeah, and also like Noona is like a term for young Korean boys to address to like older women. So it's kind of like big sis or like like an older woman.
Yeah, especially when they're flirting.
Oh yeah, but I think it's also like with family members, if they have like older sisters, older female cousins, they just call them Noona. So it's kind of like with Japanese actresses.
Yeah, so we're just a couple of Noonas just here talking about K-pop. And hopefully, I guess, kind of keeping you in the loop of what's happening over in the K-pop world. But before we wrap up, do you have anything you want to plug then, Jenny?
Oh, well, yeah. If you want to search me for, look for me, you can find me on Instagram. 2 profiles, one for Ginny Designs, so that's GINNY Designs. That's where I post a lot of my design, professional design work. And you can also search up my personal page, which is RCL Imegujin. I would have like the links in my Ginny Designs page with to other of my social media pages, so you can come look for me there. And also, a quick birthday shout out to my Chinese husband, Lei Zhang, who's celebrating his birthday on October 7th. So happy birthday, husband. I had to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can search, you can find me on Facebook. Just search Jenny Matisek. That's JENNI, because I'm special. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chaos Bulldog. I'm trying to get better at posting more things. I'm notorious for just kind of lurking, but I'm trying to get better at posting things. I also, tend to annoy my boyfriend quite a bit on Facebook. So again, sorry, Cedric. But this has been this has been fun, Ginny. Hopefully we can do this more often and definitely talk more about K-pop. I love talking K-pop with you.
Yeah, and it's so much fun like talking about that. I think I feel like the most comfortable in like speaking in any of the shows, like from Double Toasted or from like Marcus's shout out to Marcus Music Mondays. But this one, it's like I feel like I'm just talking casually, and we can be professional about it, but it's just so much fun. It can be all laughs and it can be very informative at the same time. It's just a fun little discussion between friends.
Yeah, it's basically a discussion between two really good friends, and maybe hopefully educating some people into the world of K-pop. I know we have a couple friends right now who are just dipping their toe into it, and I feel like we're like the leading shepherds of them into the K-pop world.
Yeah, they have so much to learn, but I don't blame them, since we were at that phase before. Like we don't know anything else, and it's been surprising for us to learn more about like the industry in general. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'd say for them.
Yeah, that's it. This has been the first episode of the Noonas Podcast, and I guess as they say in Korea, when you're just kind of hoping for things to be the best, fighting. We'll hopefully see you guys next week. Bye, guys.